Come to Guardians.
Yeah, I have statistics to back up that we have people that listen.
Mike Schaefer.
Anytime there's sort of a debate as to who can do something, Happer would always put his name forth, for sure.
Husker 24/7 on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
I could be a star.
All right, welcome back. I think I was on there the first time. We are joined now on the 42 Degrees The Source hotline by our dear friend Mike Schaefer. That's better, Josh, of Husker 247. Schaefer, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning back to you. Welcome back, Connor Happer. And let me just say, I'm sure the good folks at 1620 are working on selling this segment. They could call it football and dad stuff.
Yeah.
Tell it to somebody.
Yeah, we could.
It's an easy marketing opportunity. Make a little money. Maybe you get an endorsement out of it. Seems like a great idea.
So one of the things that apparently happens when you become parents is that you like to welcome other people into the world of parenthood, and you become really good at it. So what we received in the mail from the Schaefers was a bib that said, "Apparently I like baseball." And we just put that over our kid and some stain remover, and I think there was like a onesie as well. Schaefer, it was greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I was blown away by the generosity of so many people in my life that it became very, very easy to give stuff for the multiple of people that have become parents since I have too. So that's the other thing that's amazing. You spend 30 plus years not being a parent, and then you instantly realize how many babies are born all the time and all the people that you know that are having babies. So it's incredible. But yeah, hopefully your 3 weeks were good.
Magical.
And now you're back and ready to tackle all things Nebraska football and whatever else.
Yeah, I just spent 20 minutes talking about how the Hawkers at Memorial Stadium are going to be basically either really sad or obsolete now that they're going cashless at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, this is like one of those things that's going to sneak up on people in so many ways. Like I saw there was like the news story where the person talked about how they never carry their cards and they only have cash, and
Hilarious.
like, this is going to surprise people. And like, first of all, I don't understand that because I am the opposite. I never have cash. Like, cash is just not something that I think about or have. It's just all plastic for me. But I do know from just the other venues doing this, like, there are so many people that are just going to be shocked at this UTEP game that they cannot get their Runza,
I know,
or their Red Dog, or their Valentinos, or their Pepsi, because they just don't have the right currency anymore, because it's no longer America.
That was what that one lady said outside of Memorial Stadium in Lincoln.
It's not good here anymore.
I don't know how they found her. First of all, I don't know where they got her. I was concerned.
Straight out of Central Casting, right?
Yeah, I thought she was a plant. I'm like, I don't know where you found this lady, but she's wearing a Nebraska shirt, and she said that a stadium being cashless is un-American, and I thought, wow, that's a little on the nose for me.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. It was pretty good, but yeah, I think people are going to struggle with that. That was when that got announced. That was my initial reaction. Is like, they need to do a whistle stop tour just for this. Just make Troy Gannon go to every community in Nebraska and be like, look, I'm sorry. You might be able to pay for cash for this coffee right now. You can't do it at Memorial Stadium anymore. And then field questions about it.
Schaefer, a couple anniversaries today. First of all, 3 years ago today, you and I were doing a show together.
Oh, man.
And we had a poll question.
Different times those were.
We had a poll question. That legacy is carried on. But this one might be the best. Both in their prime, who would win this fight? Michael Keaton or John Bon Jovi?
This is one of your worst takes ever. It's Michael Keaton, and it's not close.
You guys just think because he played Batman, now he's got all this like martial arts. It's like, no, Michael Keaton is soft. He's soft. Did you see him in The Other Guys? He's just quoting TLC the whole movie. Bon Jovi has seen it. He's experienced it. And he knows, like, what else is he doing while he's out on the road 24/7? He's getting after it in the weight room.
Wasn't Michael Keaton just in some like action movie a couple years ago that was straight to prime that nobody but me watched? I'm pretty sure that he can. I'm pretty sure that even not prime Michael Keaton could still take prime Bon Jovi.
Yeah. By the way, the results of that poll question are now final, and they're cemented in history. 74% of the voters said Michael Keaton.
Yeah, and that's when you came up with the line that Lincoln has an enhanced sense of Keaton.
It does. I think Omaha has an enhanced sense of Keaton. I think everyone has an enhanced sense of Keaton. Yes.
I think as good as that bit was, the Jeff Franklin thing is still maybe my favorite hour of radio we've ever done. So whenever that anniversary comes up and you want to talk about Jeff Franklin Googling his house in South LA or wherever it was.
Why did that? So we were talking about James Franklin, and then you said Jeff Franklin, and then it turned out Jeff Franklin was the creator of Full House.
Someone tweeted it. They tweeted out Jeff Franklin, meaning James Franklin, and that's how we got on it. And then we found out that Jeff Franklin was the creator of Full House, and then we ran with that for a while. And I mean, this is just what the Happer and Schaefer show was.
100%.
So I mean, it worked great. I mean, that was, to me, that's still probably our like landmark hour in that 4-month history of a show.
Yeah, and it was pretty early on too. That show only lasted like 4 months.
Firing their coach early,
yeah.
Because USC fired their coach on the second week of the season. Who does that?
That's right. So yeah, that was definitely the seminal moment in the Happer and Schaefer show. Also, 4 years ago today, it was COVID. And Nick Castellanos hit a deep drive to left while Tom Brenneman was apologizing.
Oh, man. When Nick Castellanos hits a home run, it's always a major watershed moment in history.
It really is. By the way, just so we check it before we get to football, we've spent 7 minutes on other things, but we'll probably spend an eighth here. What's going to happen in the last 6 weeks of this season as it pertains to our baseball teams?
I am unclear if Cleveland attempts to just like want to make me feel terrible, and they're like, we'll sweep somebody so you won't feel as bad, and then they'll just lose 3 straight. I don't like the yo-yoing. Just figure it out. I don't know. I still feel like they're in a decent spot. They have the tiebreaker with the Twins. They're 7-2 against the Twins. They got all those games against the Royals coming up, so if they can just split that, that'd probably be good. Their schedule lightens a little bit. Their hitting has been terrible right now, which is what I thought it was going to be all year. I'm getting the version of the team that I expected in April, but now it's in August after they were gangbusters for 3 months, and now they've just been so-so for 2 months. It's very annoying. I don't like when I'm right after the fact, because now I don't want to be right. I still want to be wrong, and being right isn't fun anymore.
Hope can be a dangerous thing, Schaefer. As the same thing is happening to the Royals as well. Like, they'll play really well and they'll sweep all these bad teams. They'll bludgeon the White Sox for the majority of the season, and then they'll play a team with a pulse and a team that they need to beat and just completely fall flat on their face. So I have no idea what's going to happen.
Here's something to make you a little sad. The Guardians and the Brewers have the exact same record. The Guardians lead the division by 2. The Brewers lead their division by 10.
Yeah.
This is what happens. The Guardians and the Twins and the Royals all have a good season, and it's all at the same time.
Yep. And it is revenge for the AL Central at large after being mostly crapped on for the last 5 years.
Yeah, when we've really ignored the fact the AL West has stunk.
Yep.
And yes, the Rangers won the World Series, and yes, the Astros have won a couple World Series. But for the most part, it's been the Astros, and everyone else has stunk.
No doubt.
And I feel like the AL West gets a pass, and I don't understand it.
I don't either. Yeah. Boo the AL. I'm glad we can make people aware of this. The AL West stinks, and people need to know about this. This is now the high horse we're on. A couple football things, Schaefer, before we get you out of here. So there's been a lot of talk about this over the last couple weeks. I think the conversation kind of really ramped up when the BTN crew came in last week, and Howard Griffiths said, hey, it's Nebraska. Not only I'm excited about their quarterback, but I'm excited about their quarterback room. And then Matt Rule goes on his, nice little stump speech for Daniel Kalen over the weekend. I always sort of balk at this conversation because I don't know how much it really matters to have a good quarterback room, but I guess how encouraging is it to you that Nebraska has and really when we talk about the room, we're making it up of young guys who have, a future around here. I guess what does that mean to you when people say Nebraska has a solid quarterback room?
You know what? In a weird way, it means to me, it means that they have a good wide receiver group. Like I think so much of the quarterback conversation and the wide receiver conversation has to happen in tandem. In part because you think about all the way we talked about Adrian Martinez, and then you think back in 2019, who did he get to throw the ball to? In 2020, who was he getting to throw the ball? And they just didn't have these great wide receivers. And then, of course, the year that he leaves, they go out and they end up with Trey Palmer. And so it's one of those things. I guess Samari Toure was pretty good in 2021, but it's one of those things. I think Nebraska's wide receiver room is so good that it's going to help the quarterback room. And I like Daniel Kalen coming in. I mean, I know that there's some sort of mixed thoughts there because he didn't have the best senior year. And I don't know that it was the best Bell West team that he had been a part of. But I thought Daniel Kalen was a guy that, was going to redshirt. And this is pre-Dylan Raiola. I thought he was someone that was going to put himself in contention to be, a guy Matt Rule would be able to trust by his second, third year in the program. And so the fact that Matt Rule likes him doesn't really surprise me. Daniel's a guy that works really, really hard, and he's a good teammate. And he's someone that I think is going to get every ounce of talent that he can out of his pot. Now, is that going to be enough to get you to a Big Ten championship game? No idea. But I'm not surprised that they like him early on. He works really, really hard. I think he's a good communicator. I think he's one of those, student of the game type. And then, but really, just to spin it all back to the initial thought, so much of why I think anyone feels good about this program is because the wide receiver room just changes the whole picture of the offense. Like they have dynamic weapons in a way they did not have last year. And obviously Dylan Raiola is a big part of all of that as a quarterback, but it also helps Heinrich Harburg and Daniel Kalen, whomever else gets to play in that room. I mean, so it's being able to throw to Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair and, Jalen Lloyd in his second year and Malachi Coleman in his second year and Ja'Cory Barney, and all of these different weapons, let alone whatever you get out of Isaiah Garcia Castaneda and what Janiron Bonner can do for you and everything else. I just think the wide receiver room changes so much of how you feel about Nebraska's offense, independent of everything else.
I think it's a great point, and I'll kind of illustrate it this way too. Like when we have these off-season conversations, Schaefer, we oftentimes talk about like, hey, how do you feel about this group? How do you feel about the offensive line? How do you feel about the defensive backs? How do you feel about the linebackers? Whatever it might be. Like, so when people ask me the question, and you just did the same thing, like people ask me the question, how do you feel about the offensive line? I say, well, the offense is going to be better. So like that means the offensive line, the burden that is placed upon the offensive line should be lightened. And the same goes for every other position. The better you get around any one either person or position. Like it's an important thing. And I think it kind of illustrates a difference in the way the season actually works compared to how we actually talk about it in the offseason.
I think it also illustrates the difference of football versus, say, basketball. And maybe the fallacy of some of the Scott Frost era was that there was the expectation that someone had to be Superman for everything to go. Like, because Mackenzie Milton was so good at UCF, the idea was that if Adrian Martinez was that, he could lift everything else up. Instead of the idea that the collective all gets better at once, the team can rise. The idea was that if you have just this one transcendent talent, everyone else is better because of it. And I just think that's a lot harder to pull off in football.
Yep.
I mean, it's not basketball. You have so many more factors that go into it that you can have someone like Martinez who really seriously looks like he could make an NFL roster and not just like as a, complete joke or anything like that. He didn't look like that at Nebraska, in part because he just didn't have teammates to be able to do those things with.
Yeah, it's well, his football playing career has certainly aged differently than what we thought about him when he left Nebraska.
Certainly differently than it was discussed on the Happer and Schaefer show in 2020.
Indeed. Nobody pulled the tapes on that one. Mike Schaefer of Husker 247. Schaefer, looking forward to the coverage this week and as the season starts. Good to talk to you as always. Thank you for the gifts. Thanks for welcoming me to the world of parenting. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one, Happer. Have a good week.
Mike Schaefer of Husker 247.